Rest all students join at on right time. Okay, let's start with today's topic. We have okay. We will be continuing our topic on design and selection of journal bearing. Okay, so let's take another new problem today for design. So let's learn the problem statement here. This is the third problem we are learning under journal bearing. Full journal bearing, there will be partial also, the treatment remains same. Whether it's the full journal bearing or partial journal bearing, the treatment for the problem remains same. A full journal bearing has following specifications. Okay. We are using the journal bearing for here centrifugal pump. Load to be supported 10 kilonewton and journal speed is 960 rpm. Oil to be used, you have to use your lubricating oil SAE 20 grade. The diametral clearance ratio should be D by C should be equal to 1000. Okay. So based on this data, you have to calculate dimensions of the bearing, the minimum oil film thickness, the coefficient of friction, temperature rise of oil, heat generated and heat dissipated. Okay. So let's go for the design. Now in this problem, you have been given a load. I assume that load is a radial load. So we are starting the solution. That assuming the load W is a radial load, which is 10 kilonewton, that is 10,000 Newton. Okay. Now, since no data related to length dimensions are given here, so you need to select the appropriate L by D ratio here. So to select that L by D ratio, based on your application and the type of material we are selecting, you have to select the L by D ratio appropriately. So we have to L by D ratio you can select for this application centrifugal pump between 1 to 2. So where you will get this, we will be having, there is a table. So from the table you can get this value. This is PSG 7.31. So let's take this table also. So you will come to know other applications on that table also. Okay. So these are the different materials used for the bearing. So 7.31 we are looking for. So this is 7.30. So 7.31. Okay. So in the 7.31, design practices for journal bearing. So what design practice or basic values you have to select here, it is mentioned here. So what machinery you are going to, for which machinery you are going to select the bearing, what should be the approximate value of L by D, allowable bearing pressure, and normally what should be the lubricant viscosity for that bearing. So these are tabled here. So our application here machinery is an centrifugal pump. So if you see here, there are engines, two-stroke, four-stroke engines, then automobile engines, compressor, pumps, reciprocating compressor, centrifugal pumps, motors, generators. Now, in given application here, we have centrifugal pump here. Our application is centrifugal pump. So this is a rotary type mechanism. L by D ratio. So normally that L by D ratio should be in the range from 1 to 2 here as per the design practice here. The bearing pressure permitted here is in the range of 7 to 14 kgf per centimeter square. This is 7 to 20 kgf per centimeter square. Then viscosity should be in the range of 25 centipoise, and other parameters are there based on the speed. This ratio will be there. Since our application is this, so we have to select L by D either 1 or 2 or between 1 to 2. There are the table, you can have bearing less than L by D, less than 1 by 2, 1 also. If there is a space constraint, then only you can go L by D less than 1. But as per standard practice, it should be between 1 to 2. Okay. So based on this, we have selected L by D for our current problem as 1. Then you have to select a bearing pressure here. So bearing pressure between 7 to 14. So you can have minimum value of 7 and maximum value of 14. So in this range, you can select. You can consider the viscosity of the lubricant maybe around 25. So that we are going to check again here. So viscosity of the lubricant also. Okay. So if you go to the presentation again. So in this presentation, you are having here L by D selected value is equal to 1 from PHG 7.31 table. Then in the problem we have given D by C, that is diameter upon diametral clearance. So diametral clearance ratio is D by C is equal to 1000. This is given in the problem. So this is capital D diameter, capital C diametral clearance. So D by C is given. But that is also nothing but radius upon radial clearance. So that is equal to small r upon small c, and which is given here in the problem as 1000. So these two data we are starting with. Now permissible bearing pressure in the table value in the 7.31, we have found out that value is 7 to 14 kJ per centimeter square. That is 0.7. So this is in kJ per centimeter square. So if you want to convert into Newton per millimeter square, you have to divide this value by 10. So that is equal to 0.7 to 1.4 Newton per millimeter square. Now for our design, current design, we are selecting this value in the range of 1.25. Yes? So approximately we take this value as 1.25. It is between 0.7 to 1.4. So 1.25 Newton per millimeter square. So we are selecting here the value of 1.25 Newton per millimeter square. Now, as per formula, bearing pressure is equal to W upon T into L. Now here we have L by D is equal to 1. So L will be also equal to D. So we know the value of P, that is 1.25. W is 10,000. D value is D, and L value is also D, because L by D we have taken is equal to 1. So L is also equal to D. So from this we can determine approximate diameter of our journal. So journal diameter here is D is equal to 89.44 millimeter. So we are approximating it to 90 mm. So whenever you get this diameter, it has to be approximated to the next standard value. So up to 100 mm, you will have, that is from say 50 to 100 mm, you will have a step of 5 mm. So if you get even 86 here, you have to take as 90 mm. You have to take it as a 90 mm. Suppose if you get it 84 here, then it should be taken as 85 mm. Above 100, it is in the step of 10 up to 150 or 200 mm, and above 200 mm, it is in the step of 25 mm. So based on your D value, you should approximate this value in either to the nearest millimeter value. So from this, we have got diameter here as 90 mm. That is one dimension we have determined here, dimension of the bearing, that is diameter. Now length, as per this ratio, L by D is equal to 1. Length should be also equal to diameter, that is equal to 90 mm. So we have determined both the dimensions of the bearing, that is what is the diameter and what is the length. Okay. So since you have not taken same D here, so there is a chance your bearing pressure value will change. So what is the exact bearing pressure? So you need to do the calculation again here. So P is equal to W upon D into L here. So 10,000 upon 90 upon 90. So it will come as 1.234. For design calculation, we taken as 1.25. Now actual pressure here, actual bearing pressure is now 1.234. This value should be less than this permissible value. It may happen that you may got this value as say 86. Okay, so when you selected this value 86, you may take as 85, no problem. So by taking this 85 and 85 here, this value again should fall in this range. Otherwise, your selection of this diameter and length will be wrong. So either you can select lower value or higher value, and after selecting that lower value of diameter or higher value of diameter, you need to do the calculation of bearing pressure again here. Okay, so which will be used in the calculation further. So we have now bearing pressure for current problem here is 1.234 Newton per millimeter square. Let's go and check now minimum film thickness. So to determine minimum film thickness, let's go to the next slide. So in this slide, we are calculating now Sommerfeld number. So Sommerfeld number is equal to R by C bracket square into mu ns by P. R by C is a dimensionless parameter and mu ns by P is a bearing characteristic number. This ratio is called as bearing characteristic number. So R by C is already given in the problem, that is capital D by C is equal to small r by C, that is equal to 1000 given in the problem. Now specific speed here, the speed in RVS is equal to RPM speed upon time in seconds. So 960 upon 60. So that comes as 60 revolutions per second. So speed here is 60 revolutions per second. Now you need the value of mu. P value is calculated right now. R by C is known. We need to know value of mu. So when we select the table, so in the table, SAE table, SAE 20, oil average temperature. So if you take average temperature of oil around 55 degrees Celsius, the viscosity value is around 25 centipies. There is a chart available. I have not scanned that chart. In next lecture, I will show that chart also, how this 25 centipies is coming there. So at temperature, at average temperature of oil of 55 degrees Celsius, SAE 20 oil will have viscosity 25 centipies, which can be converted into Newton per second per millimeter square. That is equal to 25 into 10 raised to minus 9. This data is available on 7.31 page without temperature, and this variation with respect to temperature is available on a chart presented on PhD data book 7.41. So from 7.41 at 55 degrees Celsius, the viscosity of SAE 20 oil is 25 centipies. Okay, so by putting this value in the equation of Sommerfeld number here, so you will get a Sommerfeld number here. That Sommerfeld number for your current application, that is 1000 square into 25 into 10 raised to minus 9 into 16 upon 1.234. This is pressure. We got this value as a dimensionless number as 0.3241. So Sommerfeld number here is 0.3241. Now we have to take the data. So we are referring PhD 7.36. L by D is equal to 1. So if we open that data, so my value of Sommerfeld number is 0.3241. So if we go to that data here, dimensionless performance parameter for full journal bearing with side flow. We are having here L by D equal to 1. So this row will be applicable. So in this row, we have to check the Sommerfeld number. Sommerfeld number here, this is the column for Sommerfeld number. My current value of Sommerfeld number is 0.32 something. So which is less than 0.631 but greater than 0.264. So my eccentricity ratio is between 0.2 to 0.4. So it is greater than 0.2 but less than 0.4. So let's determine eccentricity ratio for the calculated Sommerfeld number. So for that you have to use linear interpolation. So for understanding linear interpolation, so considering 0.631, eccentricity ratio is 0.2. If you take Sommerfeld number 0.264, eccentricity ratio is 0.4. So then what is the value of eccentricity ratio for 0.3 Sommerfeld number? That is calculated Sommerfeld number. So this data I have represented here in the presentation here. So let's check this data here. we have L by D equal to 1. At L by D equal to 1, when Sommerfeld number is equal to 0.631, the eccentricity ratio is 0.2. At the same time, L by D is equal to 1 and S is equal to 0.264. Eccentricity ratio is 0.4. Now we need to calculate the eccentricity ratio for given calculated value of Sommerfeld number. What is the calculated value? That is 0.3241. So for Sommerfeld number 0.341, what is the eccentricity ratio? So how we will calculate? So we are using here linear interpolation. So to use that linear interpolation here, so you are using here formula. We require the eccentricity ratio corresponding to the Sommerfeld number of 0.3241. So I am starting with a Sommerfeld number of 0.631. So starting point is eccentricity ratio at 0.631, Sommerfeld number that is equal to 0.2. So this value will be put here. So in this formula, we have this value will be put here. Okay. Then we are going for a forward interpolation. So I want the value at 0.3641, but my starting point is 0.6340, so minus 0.631. So next value is 0.264, so 0.264 upon 0.631. So emissive value here will be equal to this value, that is next value minus initial value. So again this is coming here, this will come here, and this is again coming here. Okay, so by using this linear interpolation, we get the eccentricity ratio here should be greater than 0.2 but less than 0.4. So we get that value of 0.3672. So we get this value of 0.3672, and then we can calculate the minimum film thickness variable, which is H0 by C, which is a complementary function of eccentricity ratio. So it is 1 minus eccentricity ratio. So 1 minus 0.3672. So it comes as 0.6328. So this is your minimum film thickness variable. Now we know clearance ratio B by C or small r by C is equal to 1 by 1000. So let's put the radius of the journal. Radius of the journal is equal to 90 by 2 upon radial clearance is equal to 1000. So from this calculation, we get C is equal to 0.045 mm, that is equal to 45 micron. So radial clearance here is 45 micron. So in this equation, this thing is now known. What is unknown now? H0. So from this, you can find out minimum film thickness H0. This will go here. So that is equal to 0.6328 into C. That is 0.6328 into C. So C value is equal to 45 micron, that is 0.045 mm. So you get this minimum film thickness value is equal to 0.0284 millimeter, which is equal to 28.4 micron. So the minimum film thickness here is equal to 28.4 micron. So we have calculated, now if we go through this problem, we have calculated dimension, minimum oil film thickness. Let's go for the coefficient of friction calculation in the next slide here. Okay, so we are calculating now coefficient of friction variable. Again, we will use the PhD data book 7.36. L by D ratio is equal to 1. Now, since you know the value of eccentricity ratio, that we have 0.2, 0.4, and we require the value for the eccentricity ratio of 0.3672. So what is our CFE value? What is our CFE value, coefficient of friction variable? So when we take L by D is equal to 1 and epsilon is equal to 0.2, CFE is equal to 12.8. And when L by D is equal to 1, epsilon is equal to 0.4, CFE is equal to 5.79. You can check in the table also. This we have taken from we have taken it from the table here. This table. So you can see here. These are the epsilon value. This is the L by D is equal to 0.2. We have CFE value. CFE value is equal to mu into D by C or F into R by C. So that is equal to 12.8. For 0.2, it is 12.8, and for 0.4, it is 5.79. So what will be the middle value or the in-between value? So we have to use a linear interpolation here. Okay, so linear interpolation, we require the value at emissivity, eccentricity ratio of 0.3672. What is the coefficient of friction variable? So we require this value at this point. So we start with this value at this point, that is equal to 12.8. So next value at this value is 5.79, 5.79 minus 12.8. So minus 12.8 divided by 0.4 upon 0.2. We require the value at 0.3672 with a reference value of 0.2, so minus 0.2. So this value will be negative. This value is positive. This value is positive. So this product will come as negative. This product will come as negative. So when you add to this value, that is adding to 12.8 into this value, so this is negative, so this will be less than this, but it should be greater than 5.79. So when you do this calculation, the CFE function, we get CFE value, coefficient of friction variable here, as 6.9396. You get this value as 6.9396. So since CFE is equal to D by C into F or R by C into F, so this C is small, this C is capital. This capital C stands for diametral clearance, small c stands for radial clearance. So let's take this value here. R by C given in the problem is 1000. So 1000 into F is equal to 6.9396. So from that we can find out coefficient of friction here. F is equal to 0.0069396. So this third part we have evaluated. Then you have been asked to determine, if you go here, you have been asked to determine temperature rise of the oil, heat generated and heat dissipated. So let's go for the temperature rise and heat generated and heat dissipated. So there are various terms here. So let's go to the presentation again. Now, because of this friction, there will be heat, there will be power loss. So power loss in friction in terms of kilowatts is equal to 2 pi NSFWR upon 10 to the 6. Now we know NS, which is calculated as 16. F is right now calculated, that is 0.0069396. The load W here is 10,000 Newton, and radius of your journal is 45 mm, so 45 mm upon 10 to the 6. So this comes to be 0.3139 kilowatts. So this is in fraction. So we'll write in watt. So it is 313.9 watt. So multiply by 1000, you get this value is in watt. That is 313.9 watt. This is the power loss. This power loss will be converted into the friction, and which will be converted into the heat generated. So power loss in friction is nothing but heat generated in the bearing. So total heat generated in the bearing is 313.9 watts. Now let's go to the next problem. Temperature rise. We are looking for temperature rise here. Okay. So let's do the calculation of flow variable. So when you take L by D is equal to 1 and eccentricity ratio is equal to 0.2, flow variable is 3.59. When L by D is equal to 1, this 0.4, flow variable is equal to 3.99. So this also you will get it from the table. And what is the value at eccentricity ratio of 0.3672? What is the flow variable value? So again, we are doing the linear interpolation. It will be greater than this, but less than this, as per our, because our value lies here. So this value lies here in between. So this value should be greater than this, but less than this. So we get that flow variable value here as 3.9244. As per our definition, flow variable, these are formula. Q is equal to RCNSL or 4Q upon DCNSL. So if you take this value in diameter and this value as diameter clearance, then this formula to be used, or otherwise you can use this formula. So I'm using this formula, and that is equal to 3.9244. So from this we can find out the total flow rate here. So total flow rate here, total flow rate of oil here is 3.9244. So we are having here total flow rate here is 3.9244. So we can convert this value of Q. We have got the Q value. If I put this value here, Q we get as 11,443 millimeter cube per second. If you want in liters per minute, so it will be 686.61 liters per minute. If required, you can convert into kg per minute. The maximum temperature rise for the lubricant without side loss. Suppose this entire fluid is circulated there. If this entire fluid is circulated and if there is no loss, side loss, then maximum temperature rise for the oil, that is equal to 8.3 into P into CFE upon FE here. So this comes out to be 18.11 degrees Celsius. This is the maximum temperature rise. If there is no loss of oil, no entire oil is circulated properly and it is recirculated properly there, then we have 18.11 degrees Celsius temperature. But in reality, there is a side loss. The lubricant will be lost from the side in axial direction. So the temperature rise in the bearing will may be greater than this value. So that's why I'm checking in the next slide. You can see here actual temperature rise considering side flow effect. So if we consider side flow effect, so from PHG 7.36, you can find out this temperature rise function is there. This separate column is there. Rho Cp delta T naught upon P, this ratio is there. For epsilon, means epsilon is equal to 0.2, that is eccentricity ratio 0.2. This value is equal to 52.1. And for 0.4, it is 24.3. I will show in the diagram, chart, so you can understand. The chart is available here. Here. This temperature function value is here. That is rho Cp delta T naught upon P. This bracket I have taken here. So when L by D is equal to 0.2, this value is 52.1. And when L by D is equal to 0.4, this value is 24.3. My epsilon value is in the range between 0.2 to 4. So this ratio should be also in this range, 52.1 to 24.3. So it should decrease, but it should be greater than 24.3. So when you come back to the design calculation here, so this ratio, starting with this, so this value will be put here. Then next value will be put here, and this value will be put here. So this negation will come as negative. This is positive. This is positive. So this product will be negative. So when you add here, this value minus something, this will come less than this, but it should be greater than this. So when you do this calculation for this ratio at 0.3672, this ratio is 28.8592. So delta T here is the temperature rise of the oil here, actual temperature rise of the oil. So if you consider, if you put the value of rho here, rho value is 8.6 into 10 raised to minus 4 here. Then Cp value here, that is this value here is 17.1 into 10 raised to 3, and delta T here. Then pressure here, this pressure is in kgf per centimeter square here. My value is 1.234 Newton per millimeter square. So kgf multiplied by 10. So it is the kgf per centimeter is 12.34. So this in this formula, this values has this pressure value has to be used in kgf per centimeter square. Now you will ask where to get this data. This data is also available on the table. I am selecting 0.86, but in the table it is given 0.83. This value is given as 0.3083. But in the textbook, this is given as 0086. So when you remove that zeros value, it comes as 10 raised to minus 4 here. This value is given in the table, it is 17,100. So I am writing it is 17.1 into 10 raised to 3. So this is the temperature rise considering side flow effect. So temperature rise considering side flow effect is 24.21. So because of fluid loss or lubricant loss in the side, so actual temperature rise will be equal to 24.21 degrees Celsius. This is the oil temperature increase 24.21. So there will be two temperatures for oil flow. That is no loss. That is, you will have temperature 18 degrees Celsius. If there is a loss of lubricant from the side, then you will have temperature rise greater than that. That is 24.21. Okay. So next, let's go to the calculation of heat dissipated. So So from this, we are going to do the calculation here. So what we have here, heat generated in the bearing, that is power loss in friction, that I already told in the earlier slide. What is the heat generated in the bearing? Heat generated in the bearing is equivalent to the power loss. So power loss in friction, we have already calculated by this formula 2 pi ns F W of R upon 10 raised to 6 in kilowatt. We want in the value into the watt. So that value we have calculated, and that value has come as 313.9 watt. Okay. Now this is the total heat generated in the bearing. Now some of this heat will be carried away by the lubricant, and some of the heat will be dissipated to the atmosphere by conduction convection principle. Okay, entire heat will not be taken away by the lubricant. That is the case. Normally we assumed in solving earlier problems that we are considering that entire heat is taken by lubricant. It is not always true. So to do the calculation of this, let's consider what is the side flow here and what is the total flow here. So to determine the side flow here, I am considering L by D is equal to 1 and epsilon is equal to 0.2. So for this value, the side flow ratio, that is PS by Q, that flow ratio here, side flow, that is axial flow here, axial flow upon total flow here, that is equal to 0.28. If my eccentricity ratio is increasing, then my side flow ratio is also increasing here. It is 0.497. Now I require the side flow ratio at 0.3672, eccentricity ratio of 0.3672. What is the QS by Q value here? Because heat carried away by lubricating oil, V is equal to QS into rho into Cp into delta T. What is the temperature change for that oil into specific heat of that oil, then specific gravity or the density of that oil into the flow rate of that oil. So this flow rate is going away. So this heat is carried away. So it is heat carried away by lubricating oil by side flow. That is QS is equal to QS, small QS into rho into Cp into delta T. I want to determine this QS value when eccentricity ratio is equal to 0.3672. So what is this ratio? So again, these values are taken from the page number PHG 7.36. I am not going to repeat again how it is taken. So this is taken from 7.36. So if we use a linear interpolation, this calculation comes as 0.4614, which is greater than this value and less than this value, then it is correct. Otherwise, it is wrong. So this is correct value. So we get here side flow here, QS is equal to 0.4614 Q. This value we have calculated in earlier slide, that is equal to 11443 millimeter cube per second. So this is equal to 5279.93 millimeter per second. You can convert into meter cube per second, that is 5.279 into 10 raised to minus 6. This value will be multiplied by 10 raised to minus 9. So that 1 minus 3 will be cancelled here and point can be put here. So we have 5.279 into 10 raised to minus 6 in terms of meter cube per second. So therefore, heat carried away by lubricating oil, that is QS is equal to Q small QS, that is this value, 5.279 into 10 raised to minus 6 into rho Cp. This product is available in the data book. Rho Cp product is available in the data book. That is equal to 14.2 into 10 raised to 5 into delta T. This we have calculated in previously. Where you will get this product, I will show here in the PHG data book. At the bottom of this table, this rho values, Cp value and rho Cp product is given. Okay, I am not. It is on another here at the bottom of this page. Here you can see here density of the oil is given, that is 0.000836. It is between 83 to 86. So kgf per centimeter square. Specific oil heat of the oil, that is 1700 kgf per centimeter per kgf per degree Celsius, and rho Cp product, this rho into Cp here, this product is equal to 14.2 kgf per centimeter square. If you want to convert into Newton per meter square here, centimeter square will become as here as a 10⁴ multiplied. kgf will be converted into Newton by 10 multiplied by 10. So this value will be 14.2 into 10⁵. So when I am putting into the design calculation here, so we are putting in the design calculation here. This value is here. This value I have taken in meter cube per second. This value should be in terms of now this product rho Cp product should be in terms of Newton per meter square. So this value in terms of 14.2 is this product value, but converting into Newton per meter square, you have to convert by 10⁵ because it is in kJ per centimeter square. This value is in kJ per centimeter square. So to convert into Newton per meter square, we are multiplying by 10⁵. Delta T is in the previous slide. So from this we found out heat carried away by lubricant oil is equal to 181.48 watt. If you do this product, it comes as 181.48 watt. Now we have heat generated 313.9 watt. Heat generated here is 313.9 watt. Out of that, heat carried away by lubricant oil is 181.48. Then how much is heat dissipated? So heat dissipated by the bearing is equal to heat generated minus heat carried away by lubricant. Please remember, heat dissipated by the bearing surface by the process of conduction, convection, radiation is equal to heat generated minus heat carried away by the lubricant. So you can write down this value as QD. Heat generated is Q, that is this value, that is equal to 313.9 watt minus heat carried away by lubricant, that is QS, that is equal to 181.48. So heat dissipated comes out to be here 132.41 watt. Suppose if you've been asked to calculate what is the surface temperature rise of the bearing, so this formula is available. QD is equal to delta Ts plus 18 square into L into D upon K. This value of QD is in terms of kJ per minute. When you take L and D and K in terms of your MKS unit, that is L and D to be taken in centimeter here, where L and D are in centimeter. So this formula is available on page number 7.34. The value of K is available on 7.35 page. This value of K value is available on 7.35 page. So if you go to this page 7.34 and 7.34 here, this is 7.31. Yes. We are calculating now surface temperature of the oil. Here, heat dissipated, this formula is there, acid is equal to delta Ts, this is delta Ts plus 18 bracket square into L into D upon K, capital K, where L is in centimeter, D is in centimeter. K is a constant, which is available on page number 7.35. This value you will get in kJ meter per minute. So you can convert into Newton meter per second by multiply by 10, convert it to kJ into Newton, divide by 60, converting minutes into seconds. So 10 by 60. So it is 1 by 6. So you will get this value in terms of watt. Newton meter per second is nothing but watt. So the heat dissipated in watt can be calculated. Please remember, this is not a delta T of oil. This is the delta T of the surface of the bearing. That is journal surface. Journal surface, what is that temperature? Rise above the atmosphere. So that temperature rise above the atmosphere, that is called delta T for that surface. So delta Ts I am writing, so for understanding purpose. And K value is available on page number 7.35 here. The K value is available here, capital K here. Capital K, that is constant for heat dissipation, that is 437 for heavy construction, well ventilated. If there is a proper ventilation around the bearing surface, a flow of air is maintained, that is a forced convection is there, then you can take this K value as 437. If there is no proper ventilation around the bearing surface and there is a still air, that is a forced convection is not there, natural convection is there, then you can take capital K value as 775. So I am assuming here well ventilated bearing, that is a forced convection bearing. So let's take the K value as 437. So by taking this K value as 437, we can determine the delta T for the surface here in the design calculation. The design calculation here says QD is equal to delta TS plus 18 bracket square into L by D upon K into 10 convert into kgf into Newton divided by 60 converting minute into second. So we are putting these values here. QD is equal to now, which is calculated as 132.41. So that value is put here. Delta TS is unknown. We are going to determine here. Plus 18, that is from the formula, into, here it is into, plus, multiply by sign here, multiply by length of the bearing in centimeters, that is 9 centimeters, into diameter of the bearing journal in centimeters, that is 9, upon 437. I am considering well ventilated bearing having flow of air, proper flow of air around the bearing surface. So you can take this value of capital K value as 437 into 10 by 60, that is for conversion, into 10 by 60. This is equal to 132.41. So from this we get delta TS is equal to 47.16. If your ambient temperature is, say, if your ambient temperature is 30 degrees Celsius, then surface temperature of your journal or bearing will be equal to delta, that is TA plus delta TS, that is equal to 47 plus then 30, that will come as 77 degrees Celsius. Now if you see the delta T average, so this is the delta TS is the surface temperature, and in earlier calculation what we have calculated here, this delta T is the oil temperature change for oil, and this is the temperature change for the surface of the bearing. These are important design parameters. So many times you required a film temperature to be maintained to maintain that viscosity. The film temperature should be in the range from 55 degrees Celsius to 90 degrees Celsius. So when we calculate this delta T value here, lubricant value, delta T value for the lubricant here. So when you add the inlet temperature, suppose the inlet temperature of the lubricant is say 30 degrees Celsius. So 30 plus 24, this comes out to be say approximately 55. So our calculation of selecting viscosity of 25 centipoise for SAE 20 oil is correct. Otherwise, our design calculation will go wrong. So this is correct. So there is no issue. But this is permitted. This delta T is permitted to such an extent that your average film temperature means your TI minus TO, inlet temperature of oil, outlet temperature of oil divided by 2. That is the average temperature of film. So average film temperature permitted is in the range from 55 degrees Celsius to 90 degrees Celsius. If your average temperature is greater than 90 degrees Celsius, if your average film temperature is greater than 90 degrees Celsius, then the viscosity properties will change suddenly. That is this value. If we come back to here, when you this value here, up to 90 degrees Celsius temperature, there is no much changes in the viscosity for the lubricant for SAE 20 or any type of oil there. If your temperature changes very, very high, if your film temperature is above 90 degrees Celsius, then the viscosity value suddenly changes and your design calculation will go wrong there. So whenever you do the calculation, always check what is the final viscosity and whether you get the film temperature within the range from 55 degrees Celsius to 90 degrees Celsius or not. Otherwise, whatever we are doing on this slide will go wrong. So since if we assume even inlet temperature of oil as say 40 degrees Celsius also, and since our delta T is maximum here 25 year, 40 plus 25 year, 40 plus 25 year, even it is also 65 degrees, which is in the permissible limit. Only this value should not cross, say, if your average temperature, inlet temperature is in the range of 30 to 40 degrees Celsius. So let's say 40 degrees Celsius. So maximum permissible value of delta T will be in that case maybe around 80 or 85 degrees Celsius. So considering that, say, delta T permissible is up to 50 degrees Celsius. Please remember, delta T permissible is up to 50 degrees Celsius. So whenever you do the calculation for journal bearing, and if your value is coming greater than delta T greater than 50 degrees Celsius, please go and change the lubricant oil or change some certain parameters so that your delta T should fall below 50 degrees Celsius. So 50 or say maximum 60 degrees Celsius, this delta T is not allowed above 60 degrees Celsius. Anything going above 50 degrees Celsius means we are not selecting proper oil. We are not designing a journal bearing properly. So this is regarding selection and design of journal bearing. A typical problem, ask for 20 marks sometimes, or ask for 12 marks or 15 marks sometimes. Okay, so I have completed my problem. If you have any doubt, you can unmute and ask, or you can put in the chat box.